It's Friday, July 8th, 2022. Well, from all reports, looks like we are going to avoid recession. That's what many of these analysts, economists on the television, reports that I'm reading, on a lot of these financial websites, many believe that we're going to avoid recession. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts on that. 30-year mortgage, 5.72% today. And as I'm watching some of the news, a restaurant owner in New York says they're having a difficult time sourcing food, vegetables, produce from the US, meats. They're having a difficult time sourcing meats from the United States of America. Yet we're going to avoid recession. I want to go over some of the data today. We'll go over the job numbers. But really quick, I had a few people write me a couple days ago regarding the outage at Wells Fargo Bank. They were being notified that they may not be able to access their accounts, their balances. People said that they checked their balances weren't there, or it was a different number, a lesser amount. And again, this just makes me believe more and more why we need to be our own central bank, why if you don't hold it, you don't own it, how quickly your money can disappear by the press of a button on a keyboard. But how do you feel when you go to a bank website, check on your account, and your money's gone? Now, hopefully this has all been fixed, but what happens if we come to a point where the system is down for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you can't access your account, you can't access your money, half your money's missing? How much confidence do you right now have in the banking system? I truly do believe now that your money is safer under your mattress than it is in a bank. And I'm not telling anybody to take all their money out of their bank. I believe in having just enough to be paying your bills and getting out of this system the most that you can. Let's talk about this jobs blowout that we saw today. The job numbers came in better than expected, and that is going to cement another large rate hike this month. I believe it will now be 75 basis points without a doubt. And you really wonder how manipulated these job numbers are. Payrolls increased 372% in June, more than expected, as job market defies recession fears. So they're telling us all day today that there will be no recession. We're going to avoid the recession. We can't have a recession now. We have too many jobs. Unemployment's too low, et cetera, et cetera. This now guarantees another good rate hike on the 27th of July, 75 basis points. And let's go over a little bit more of the data. Average hourly earnings up a whopping 0.3% for the month, 5.1% from a year ago. Remember, inflation, we're being told, is 8.6%, but the average worker is making 5.1% more than a year ago. So they're losing 3.5% of their paycheck to inflation. So it's just, to me, a real mess out there. And this is going to give the green light to the Fed to raise rates. So they're going to keep telling us that the labor market is tight, the consumer is strong, the economy is doing much better. So we're going to raise rates. See, we're not going to raise rates into a slowing economy, to a weakening consumer. No, we're going to raise rates while everything is going great. You really wonder how manipulated these numbers really are. Today they told us unemployment is 3.6%. Do you believe the unemployment rate is only 3.6% in America? We have 11.3 job openings that need to be filled. Where are all these people? What are these people doing to pay their bills? We have 100 million people not in the labor force, and all these job openings. Everywhere you go, everybody's looking to hire, for hire signs everywhere, and typically service sector, restaurant industry, things like that. There's no doubt we're losing real jobs. And when you look where the jobs, we're seeing these big job gains, of course, it's leisure and hospitality. And out of the 372,000 jobs that we saw in June, how many of these jobs are full-time? How many of these are minimum wage jobs? How many of these jobs have benefits? How many of these jobs have opportunity to move up the ladder? I see Amazon canceling 16 warehouses. If you watched my last video, take a look at what's happening to retail. Yes, there are businesses hiring, but there are a lot of businesses that no longer exist. Many businesses now cannot afford to hire. Many businesses going out of business. Chief economist at PNC Financial Services Group said this is a very strong job growth. Clearly demonstrates that the U.S. economy is not anywhere close to recession. This is what the chief economist at PNC said, that we're not anywhere close to a recession. I don't know about you, but I think this economy is the worst economy I've seen in my lifetime. And I think that a lot of people right now realize they're in a recession. Many people are feeling the pain of a depression right now, but we have chief economists, we have analysts, we have talk show hosts, we have people all over the media telling us that there's no, you're silly, you're out of your mind, there's no recession, it's not even possible now at this point. Again, all this very, very manipulated. This is a huge, huge illusion, but this is going to give them the green light to continue raising rates, ladies and gentlemen. Wolfstreet.com, Fed's quantitative tightening kicks off. Total assets drop by $74 billion from peak. New era begins. So they're going to begin tightening. And it's saying right here that it's dropped by, the Fed's balance sheet has already dropped by $74 billion from the peak, and a new era begins. Now we will see, because I continue to see them expanding the balance sheet, buying up bonds, buying into this market, playing both sides of these markets. But if they truly begin to tighten this balance sheet while raising rates, you're going to see a lot of pain in the U.S. economy. And I no doubt believe that they're raising rates 75 basis points July 27th, and I believe they're going to do another one in September. The question is, will they really begin to tighten that balance sheet? Mortgage demand sinks, CNBC, as rates climb back up to 5.72% for a 30-year fixed rate. I think we're going to see 6% here very, very soon yet again. I think housing is on borrowed time. Go back to one of my past videos that we shot just a few days ago, and you're just seeing all this new inventory being built out here in my area. You look at listings in Austin up 145%, listings in Phoenix up I think 113%. There is no doubt more and more inventory coming to the housing market. Prices I think have really begun to slow down, and I get price deductions sent to me on a regular basis now out of state. So we are seeing some markets now where we are beginning to see a real slowdown. Some markets are holding up better than others, but it's only a matter of time before we see this nationally, nationwide. Yes, I think, to me personally, that the markets that went up the fastest, that went up the highest, that had the biggest growth spurt, had the most FOMO, those are going to be the markets that really get beat up the most. Other markets that went up not so much, I think won't be as affected so much. The impact won't be so bad, but everybody's going to feel it. I think without a doubt, real estate across the country is going down. The question is your area going to collapse, or will it be a correction? Those areas that had all that FOMO and that huge growth and those crazy price surges, they're going to see crashes, and we're going to see a crash in the housing market here in the US. Doesn't mean that your market is going to crash, but overall, the housing market is about to crash. Does that mean it's going to be a month from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now? I don't know. I would say 6 to 12 months, we're going to see really big shifts in prices. And of course, with more layoffs coming, with the economy growing less and less, more inflation and mortgage rates going up and inventory piling up, we are going to see a crash in the housing market. An article I was reading last night on Market Watch, it's titled, "Here's the Loophole That Makes the US Housing Market More Wobbly Than It Appears." And just to paraphrase a little bit, they were saying that if prices correct back to where they were 8 years ago, let's just say 5 years ago, because home prices are so overinflated, and we saw this bubble just go crazy the last couple years. But let's say we see a real pullback and we go back to 5 years ago, 8 years ago. People have overpaid for these homes. People have bought more home than they could afford. People did cash out refis so they could jump into the stock market and into the crypto markets. They owe a lot of money on these homes. And if these homes begin to lose equity and regress back to prices from 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, these houses are going to be so upside down, so underwater. These homeowners, many who just put the minimum amount down, are just going to walk, and you're going to see another housing crash. So is it possible that we could see prices adjust and go back to where they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And think about how upside down these people are going to be. And we hear about, oh, people have all this equity. Equity can be erased very, very quickly. And I think that people are going to learn a valuable lesson here. I think that they're going to get a real crash course in how the real estate market works, how collapses work, how an economy works, how a recession works, and how a depression works. It's all coming, and you need to be preparing for this. The hedge, something snaps in the U.S. labor market. Full and part-time workers plunge as multiple job holders soar. So something that is very odd here is that June payrolls printed 100,000 above expectations. So yet, we have a lot of people apparently not in the workforce, not in the labor force. It says here, a problem has emerged. The more detailed household survey shows a 315,000 drop in jobs. That after the April plunge of 353,000. The establishment survey says that we gained 372,000 jobs in June, but the household survey, which is a little bit more specific, says that we lost 315,000 jobs in June. The offset is multiple job holders. So what it's saying is that we have less people working, but we have more people working more jobs. So one person might be working 2, 3, or 4 jobs. So we have less people in the labor force, but these people that are in the labor force are working more jobs. Incredible. Really, really incredible. Again, these numbers are so cooked. They are cooking the books, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to unemployment, jobs, inflation. We know that real inflation is probably around 20% right now. Many of you will say it's even higher than that. Depending where you live, it may be higher than that. But this is absolutely incredible. And we have this service sector economy where people work at coffee houses, they work at resorts, they work as medical assistants, they work at laundromats, they work at fast food restaurants. And now these are the type of jobs that have turned into careers. You know, working at a fast food restaurant, working at a bar, working at a laundromat, working at a resort typically was not a career. It was not a full-time job. These were jobs typically for college students, summer jobs, retirees, things of that nature. Now people are dependent on these jobs as careers, and they cannot make it. There's no way they can afford the type of rent that is out there, mortgage payments, inflation. People barely now can afford to put gas in their cars. And in some areas, people have to work literally all day. All day. If you're making, you may be making $7.25 somewhere in the Midwest. Think about that. That's $60 a day, roughly. What does it cost to fill up that pickup truck? It costs more than $60. You may have to work 2 days now at minimum wage in some states to fill up your pickup truck. Unbelievable. How are people doing it? I still see people driving around. You see people driving around. We see people out shopping. But you know that a majority of these people are just so dependent on the use of credit cards now. They're piling up debt. And if you're going into a depression, let alone just a recession, dependent on a credit card, you're going to be in very, very big trouble. And if you're going to sit there all day in front of a screen and watch cryptos, hoping that you're going to become rich, hoping that you're going to double, triple, quadruple your money, sitting there all day watching a screen, you're going to be in very, very big trouble. This is the time that we all need to be hustling. We need to be adding a skill set if we don't have one. Learn a new skill set. Get out there, get an extra job, put some cash away, put the assets away, put the food and water away. This is really, really scary. And these markets today, we got the Dow Jones actually turned down at the end today. S&P, I think, was down. NASDAQ and Russell were up a bit, but it was pretty flat overall. And that's because these markets know what's coming. It's going to be another 75 basis point rate hike at the end of this month. Are we headed for an auto loan crisis? Delinquencies begin to rise. This on the Hedge. I was reading this last night. This is concerning. This is very concerning. And this to me is another canary in the coal mine, another temperature check of what is happening in the U.S. economy. Lots of Americans are saddled up right now with car payments that exceed $1,000. Let me repeat that. There's a lot of people out there right now who have a car payment over $1,000, and they are living paycheck to paycheck. They are one emergency away from losing that car, maybe losing their house, getting evicted from their apartment. They're in big trouble. The average new car payment right now is $712. And delinquencies of these auto payments are creeping higher and higher. Nobody's talking about it. I never hear anything about this on the news. My buddy Mike in Alabama, who I've talked about many times, has a friend in the repo business. They don't have enough time in the day to repo cars. It's unbelievable. I watched a video on the repo business in Las Vegas, and one of these auto lots where they take salvage cars, people that might have gotten a DUI, the tow yard where they take the repos. They had to buy an additional 10-acre lot because they're anticipating so many repos. Auto delinquencies are going to increase. Consumers must understand the risk associated with financing more than they can afford. And now people are going to learn a valuable lesson here because they're going to have their cars taken away. And when you lose your car, how do you get to work? How do you take the kids to school? How do you go to the grocery store? You lose a car, your life changes. It turns upside down. This is a life-altering experience if you get that car repoed. And if you don't have the money to get that car out of repo and make those payments whole, you're not getting that car back. And now your credit's going to be destroyed too because you're not off the hook. They're going to auction that car. They're going to want you to pay the difference. Unbelievable. Average monthly auto payment, $712. People must be out of their minds who did this, who went out with the FOMO, went out with the stimmies. Unbelievable. And now they're in a real bad situation, and the situation is only going to get worse as the Fed is determined to hike rates into a downturn. They're telling us today that they believe that there will be no recession. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. Everybody's back to work, tons of jobs, even though most of them are minimum wage and 20 hours, 18 hours a week, no benefits, but don't worry about it. They're going to continue raising rates. And you go, well, how does that affect me? Well, when you pay that credit card bill every month, guess what? That interest is going to begin to continue to go up. If it hasn't already, it's going to go up. You want to buy a car, new or used, you got to borrow money. Guess what? That loan to borrow that money is going to go up. Interest is going up. You want to buy a house, 5.72% if you have 20% down and excellent credit. Otherwise, you're probably paying about 6.5%, 6.75% today to buy a house with 3% down, 5% down. The safety nets of auto deferment and stimulus checks is now gone as consumers with insurmountable debts become paralyzed. Paralyzed by inflation, and it's not going to end well, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that though. People are going to be paralyzed. And many people have no plan. No plan. And this is how people become homeless. This is how people go and live in their car, live in a van, live in a cardboard box, live in a tent. If you don't have a family to fall back on, you don't have friends, you don't have a good church, the credit cards are tapped out, they took your car, you can be in instant trouble very, very quickly. These auto payments are higher than rent. This is incredible. In the article, it says here that these auto payments are higher than rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Wichita, Kansas, and Akron, Ohio. Think about that. When you look at $1,000 for an auto payment, your parents' mortgage probably wasn't even $1,000 back in the day. Combined auto, shelter, and food costs, which are soaring, and it's no wonder consumers have maxed out their credit cards and have drained their savings. Where do you go from here? When the car's gone, the credit cards are tapped out, the savings drained, where do people go? And this is my main concern, because this now is the perfect storm. We're seeing now that Kansas is having a major drought, and in some areas of Kansas, 50% of the wheat is destroyed. 50%. And in most of the state overall, they say about 25% of the wheat will be destroyed because of the drought. That's huge. I think it was 100 million bushels of wheat that will be destroyed this year just in Kansas, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. So think about where we're at today. We have this food crisis taking place. We have now a railroad crisis where we have problems now with the railroads shipping. We still have problems with the cargo ships out here in Los Angeles. I don't believe inflation is going down at all. In fact, I think it's going up. So we have more inflation problems. Fuel, gas. I mean, isn't it nice that you're saving 15 cents a gallon right now? But oil continues to climb back. I think we're at about $104, $105 today. And I believe that that's going to continue to go up. We're going to have a layoff crisis in America, without a doubt. Mortgage rates are going to continue to climb. It's going to put pressure on the housing market. You name the problem, we got it. This, no doubt, is a perfect storm. Between food and energy, it is going to cripple a lot of people. Now what we'll see next is a grid go down. We're going to see major blackouts. And this is going to be really, really hard on a lot of people. So make sure you have enough water put away, enough food put away. Make sure you have supplies for your animals too. Don't forget the pets. And real quick, a couple articles I'm going to end with. Why driving big rig trucks is a job fewer Americans dream about doing. And God bless the truck drivers of America. God bless all of you. You are the lifeline of America, the vein, the blood that flows through America. Thank God for truck drivers. I don't think we really understand how important truck drivers are to America. Walmart might be paying its drivers $100,000 per year, but aside from Walmart, the average median pay for big rig drivers is $48,000 per year, and many of these guys and gals are working 60 to 70 hours a week. See, when there's downtime, when they're waiting for a load, while they're waiting to be unloaded, they're not getting paid. They get paid when the wheels turn. So there's a lot of downtime, and they're not getting paid for that. So $48,000 a year for 60 to 70 hours a week. Unbelievable. Do we have a shortage of drivers, or do we have a problem retaining drivers? So many people. I think it's the biggest industry of turnover, more turnover in trucking than any other industry, because people just get sick and tired of it. It's a hard job. And it really doesn't pay that much. So when we begin to lose more truck drivers like we are, and many of these trucking companies are folding, they're going out of business. My friend Mike from Alabama today just texted me, says that one of the small companies he works for just laid off a bunch of drivers today. I don't know if they completely closed down. They may have closed, but he said that they had laid him off and they've laid off a bunch of drivers. So not a good sign. Luckily, he has other work, so he'll be fine. But with the crisis that we have right now with just getting things delivered, now we're going to have less truck drivers and fuel prices continue to be out of control. Millions of barrels from U.S. emergency oil reserve sent abroad, including to China. This on the Hedge yesterday. We are draining our strategic petroleum reserves, which is meant for an emergency. That's why they're called strategic reserves. More than 5 million barrels of oil that were part of the historic U.S. SPR were exported to Europe and Asia last month, and this included China. So as we are shipping 5 million barrels of oil overseas to other countries, putting our strategic reserves at risk, think about the cost to replenish these reserves. Because we replenished these reserves a couple years ago when gas was $2 a barrel, or excuse me, $2 a gallon. Now gas is $6, $7. National average is about $5. So more than double what it cost a couple years ago to top off these reserves. And now the cost, and who knows when we do top off these reserves, what the price will be. Maybe the national gas price will be $5.50, $6, $7, who knows? It's going to cost a lot more money than it did then. And why in the world are we selling off strategic petroleum reserves right now? That is just so dangerous. It's ludicrous. What happens if those reserves get drained to a point where it becomes very, very hazardous for us if we had an emergency in this country? What if half of our reserves get drained? What if we got into a war? What if one of our so-called allies landed up cutting us off of oil? What if something happened in Saudi Arabia? What if a pipeline overseas blows up and we can't get that oil over here and half of our reserves are gone? I mean, this is just incredible. The damage that is being done to our energy system and the security of this nation. And we are all paying a price for this financially, and we're paying a price with our national security. So I'm going to leave it there today. This whole thing is a complete disaster. It's a mess. The economy's a mess. The job market, labor market, a complete mess. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, how much worse this can get. Unfortunately, I guess it can get a lot worse, and I believe it is going to get a lot worse. Just think, people a year or two ago never thought we would be in this position, that things could get this bad, and here we are. And I'm here to tell you, it's going to get much worse. If you think this is bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. So it's a wonderful day. It's a blessed day to add to the preparations. Thank God for everything you have. Walk close to God. Pray to God. Ask for direction. Ask for His protection. Things are only going to get worse for the average American. So make sure you're paying attention and preparing. God bless. Talk to all of you soon.